Managing botrytis in the vineyard. Botrytis cinerea, also called botrytis bunch rot, is a fungus. Its spores are almost always present in a vineyard, so it's a chronic problem for vineyards in humid growing areas. It is often confused with sour rot. Sour rot, which is to the right in this photo, distinctly smells like vinegar and doesn't have the gray sporulation typical of botrytis, which is on the left. Botrytis is a weak pathogen that primarily attacks dead or injured tissues. In this diagram, you see that its spores can survive the winter and bury mummies on the ground or left hanging on the vine. So grapes can become infected any time after bloom if they are damaged or split. Infections early in the season may remain dormant while berries are green, but once they start to ripen and sugar concentration increases along with the right environmental conditions, they can reactivate. The right conditions include prolonged wet or humid weather, poor air circulation, temperatures anywhere between 60 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and of course a wound on the grape. You can see on the right-hand side of this diagram that with the right conditions, the botrytis infection continuum will remain until control measures are taken. Grape wounds come from insects like grape berry moth larvae, wasps or yellow jackets, bird damage, berry breakage from too much rain, or machine damage. As ripeness approaches, botrytis spreads rapidly from grape to grape and cluster to cluster. Most susceptible are grapes with tight clusters like Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, and Vignoles, because the clusters can become so compact the grapes on the inside can split from the pressure. If left uncontrolled, botrytis can infect 30% or more of your grape crop. Botrytis secretes an enzyme called lacase into the infected grape. Lacase can cause many problems in the winery, including off aromas and flavors in the wine, poor color intensity, and since management in the winery is limited because lacase is very tolerant to SO2, it is best managed in the vineyard. Managing botrytis in the vineyard requires vigilance and a plan, based on one premise: that anything that breaks open the skin of a grape exposes it to botrytis bunch rot. Managing botrytis is an ongoing task. Good viticultural choices made early on makes botrytis management that much easier. First, it's good to know the normal weather patterns where the vineyard is located. If the vineyard is in upstate New York, for example, plentiful rainfall and high humidity will be the norm, the perfect blank canvas for botrytis. Rain and humidity will likely mean that the vines will have excess vigor, causing poor air circulation around the fruit zone, keeping the grapes from drying off quickly and making it difficult for sprays to penetrate and coat the grapes to be effective. Also, if the vines pull up more water from the soil than the maturing grapes can handle, the grapes may split, exposing a wound which could become infected by botrytis. And of course, the riper the grapes get, the more attractive they become to birds and insects which pierce the grape skins. Now that we've identified the optimal conditions for botrytis, frequent rainfall, humidity, vigor, poor air circulation, and animal damage, and excess water, we can now talk about managing it in the vineyard. If you're still in the planning stages, choosing the right rootstock can help control vigor and water uptake. This graph shows a variety of rootstocks, but it looks like 1616C might be a good option. It supports low vigor in vines and has good tolerance to excessive moisture in the soil. But if you already have an established vineyard, good strategies include shoot thinning. Most wine growers are looking for about 4 to 5 shoots per foot. Any more than that are removed. Hedging. Pruning the vines to eliminate excess vegetative growth from the top and sides in order to make a uniform canopy that looks like a hedge. There are several purposes for this. Hedging ensures uniform light exposure of the canopy and allows for good air circulation around the ripening grape clusters. Leaf removal in the cluster zone is an important practice for vineyards with moderate to high vine vigor. It allows for good air circulation around the grapes and sun exposure too. If sunburn is a concern, strategies like removing leaves between bloom and bunch closure or only removing leaves on the morning side of the vine can be helpful. Managing birds and insects with wasp traps, bird netting, scarecrows, and predator decoys can help reduce animal damage. There are several fungicide sprays that are registered for botrytis control in grapes. An annual schedule should include sprays around late bloom, pre-bunch close, veraison, and pre-harvest, and of course, before any rain events. Botrytis is tricky in that it can build up resistance to fungicides within the same frac group. Sprays in one group should not be used more than once per season and should be used on a rotational basis, year to year. Be sure to always consult manufacturer recommendations for appropriate concentration. Spray coverage depends on canopy size and access to the fruit. Sprays are most effective when done in combination with other strategies. Here, we have a graph showing the effectiveness of leaf pulling and then leaf pulling plus a spray to control botrytis. If botrytis is still a problem at harvest, options include harvesting earlier than anticipated if weather is not cooperating, or if you're too close to the harvest date to spray. Teaching harvesters what to look for and excluding infected bunches or cutting out the infected grapes before going into the bin. Sorting grapes in the field and also in the winery. Managing botrytis in the vineyard is an ongoing process. The saying, "an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure," seems applicable. But since botrytis cannot be prevented, maybe an ounce or two of thoughtful management is what makes all the difference.